we're actually still underneath this, which is still a good sign. It just, price needs to exhaust these lines. They do need to touch and crack through them. You can see the underside of this price is still trying to close below that. So we need price to crack through many times. Depends on the strength of the line. But every time it cracks through and penetrates, that line does get weaker and weaker. I want you to know that. If you come back to the last times it penetrated through, it was 1, touched it 2, touched it 3 times. Okay, so, and then you also need to know how it was formed. So if you go back to the weekly chart, if I go back to the weekly chart, price to form this went up many times, okay, through this. These are the guides that generally form the strength. So 2 times on its own, for me, or 1 time on its own is not enough to crack through that, especially when it was formed with many spikes through. So pay attention to that. Okay, look, spike, 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 spike. So I don't think 1 spike on its own is enough. Although this was powerful momentum, we saw stopping volume in this area, as we saw. Okay, so look at the volume in those areas compared to the volume when first was going and making these spikes. We're experiencing volume about up here at 0.274, and now look at the volume when we're spiking through 0.20. So we're still on low volume approaching, and then now we're coming up to here on very low volume. That tells me that at the moment, now this is still a week and we still have 5 days to go on this week, but currently at this very moment, I don't see enough volume to break through it. Let me do another example on a daily chart. Let's see, look at some of these volumes on these candles. Was way up here. Okay, look at 0.18. 0.3, and now we're coming up to these lows. So you can see the difference of volume in these areas. Okay, just kind of like making an eyeball. Look at this. We're just not at these volume levels just yet. So I don't see this line cracking right now. At least not yet. I want price to jump up off the diving board and then come through, because then it's like you can't just slowly crack through a line. You have and sustain it, because we're trying to get us to 35, but is it time now? Well, I just don't see it, and I still don't have a signal. We need price to come. I would need price to crack through, come up here and test this line, almost spike above it to prove that this is gonna hold, and then we're able to come down. Okay, as I showed you guys in yesterday's video, I need price to dive through and swing up, and come back down. Then we can head on our journey down there. Or I need price to come back up and then hit some kind of resistance area, which I believe I already showed you guys. It's this point right here, the 57, somehow, and then it will have momentum to come and break through, and either come there and test it, and then it can go. And then if it does that, this one doesn't need to be as perfect. It can be like it just needs to be wide. It doesn't have to be like curved. It can be like this. It can just be wide, and then come down. Okay, it can be at an angle. So it doesn't have to be as perfect if we get that bounce up. And will we get that bounce up? We have 12 hours of the day, and we're sitting, where we low. I wouldn't be surprised if we still get above the green before the end of the day, because that was my original prediction, that we would spike through, sit on the purple, But because now we spiked to the purple, it's possible we can just stay here. But it's still very possible we can sit on the green, and then another candle then would maybe sit on either one. But both of them are getting penetrated here, so they're slowly losing their strength as we break through those lines. Okay, and that's our update for right now. Okay, so in the same way that price came into this area earlier and was zigzagging like that, and I was talking about that. Price has two options. It can either break up or it can break down. So in the same way that happened there, we are now under this projection. So we took this blue line and we projected it here, but it still exists. We projected it at this low. So in the same way that we had this line that was duplicated here, and we had that chop there on a little scale and broke down, we now have the option that we're going to try to, I shouldn't say the option, we now have the probability that price will do that and play in this area. And then after that, it's going to either break down, which I expect happening sometime, what is this date? Between the 21st and the 23rd, that's going to be on the 22nd, around that day. Okay. Or what will happen is that we'll break up, which is more likely. And the reason I say more likely is because these lines are very strong, and a lot of traders who are just panic selling right here, they're selling at the bottom, and there's a lot of support still. And that seems to be the case. And we're going to go over that in a little bit video. We don't have any sell signals right now, and my last buy area was these areas here anyway. Okay, so if I come up here, we're going to make a profit when we sell again, because we are going to be going on our way down to 45. And then there is going to be some other supports, which we're going to talk about later in today's videos. So I want to just kind of share with you what I'm seeing and what I'm expecting. I really expect we're gonna, we're already rejecting off of these lines here. We can come back down. If we start playing more on the tops than on the bottoms, that's a sign of strength. Okay, that could bring us back to this level, or even just this mid trend line here. Okay, but I'm keeping the flags so you have a reference point of where we're at. I didn't remove the flags even though we hit those targets. This is so that people understand what's happening. So this is just a quick update. I'll be analyzing this in more depth later on. So I'll be talking to you guys later.